Well, hi everyone. Welcome to the Planners on Purpose Book Club. So excited to be here and be able to come to you about the Elizabeth Gilbert book called Big Magic. So I'm sorry I'm dipping down here because I need to make sure I'm connected to power because I wouldn't want you to lose me or me to lose you. So good for you to be here. Thank you so much for joining. Very excited to be here and share my takeaways for the book Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert. So we'll let a few of you join. When you do come, I would love for you to be able to give me a shout out in the comments. Let me know who you are, where you're joining from, what part of the country or the globe that you're joining from. Would love to see that. So we will get started in just a few minutes. Thank you guys for being here. So we have a lot planned for today. We're going to be discussing the book club. I have a couple of other updates for you. I'll go ahead and share my screen with some other updates that I have for you, but definitely excited to have you here. I was rushing. I don't know about you, but I was rushing to get this book done. So not sure if you all read the book or didn't. If you didn't, that's okay. But if you did, I would love for you to go ahead and put it in the chat and let me know if you got a chance to read this book. So I'm really busy. So Audible is my best friend. I'm pretty sure in one of my recent episodes I said, hey, if you guys have Audible, get Audible because it is a life changer. And especially if you put it on 1.5 or even 2 if you're in a rush, definitely that is very helpful for you to get through the book. So with busy event planners, how we are, we have to make sure that we're getting things done and getting everything, having the tools that we need to get it done. So to me, audiobooks works. So I did a combination of both. So thank you, Katie. It looks like Katie's here from Knoxville, Tennessee. So welcome. Good to see you here. And Katie said she did read the book. So fantastic. Awesome to have you here. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen because I want to just share with you a few updates before we get started. And thank you. It looks like Marie joined. Marie said that she listened on Audible. Good to see you, Marie. Always good to see you. So I'm glad you're my buddy on Audible. I did the same thing. So good to see that you listened to it. So I hope that you're just prepared to give me some of your takeaways for the book. It would be wonderful to be able to see that for sure and hear some of your takeaways. You'll be invited also to be able to come on live if you would like to come on live with me to just share some of your takeaways. For the ones that come on live, there will be a prize. So I would love to be able to give you that or share that with you. So as you can see, we're at book club. So thank you all again for being here. And I'll go ahead and move forward here. So I wanted to give you a little bit of who I am because sometimes people come across and they see that there is an event that they want to go to. It's a book club. Who is this chick, Naomi? And why is she here? And why is she doing this book club? So I wanted to give a little bit of a shout out to who I am. I've been in the industry for 25 years. I've worked in the hospitality industry. I've also worked, I'm working in third party now, also worked in the corporate sector. So I'm very, very familiar with meetings and events and how it runs our lives. And I'm very passionate about it. I'm a wife, mother of 3. I'm a business coach and life coach. And I currently work at Meetings and Incentive Worldwide, which is like the best organization. And then I'm a past president of MPI Wisconsin chapter. So that was a wonderful time in my life too. Just such an amazing experience. If you've ever had the chance to join an industry organization and help out and volunteer, I definitely encourage you to do so. I am an industry advocate 100%. I'm always helping. I currently help out with not only our local chapter of MPI, I also help with our local college here, Fox Valley Technical College, and I'm on the advisory board there for meetings and events, and then also help on the EIC, which is the Events Industry Council, and that organization on the Knowledge Committee. So I really like getting involved and helping out and helping move the industry forward. And then also, I'm just dedicated to empowering you to live a life of purpose. I am a person that definitely takes on a lot. I say yes to a lot of things. And because of that, I have had to learn to incorporate different tools and tips to be able to help me, I guess, commit to those things and really bring them to fruition, to come through on my commitments. And I want to have that happen for you too. So that's the whole reason why I am here. So I wanted to ask, who are you? So if you could type in the chat and let me know who you are. I would love to be able to know if you're a planner, if you're a supplier, what's your role. Just want to get a little bit more about who you are. Type that in the chat for me. That would be wonderful. And then we'll get started a little bit into our book. But first, I want to give you an update on the Facebook group that we have. So if you're not familiar, we do have a new Facebook group. I think I did a quick live the other day and introduced a new Facebook group. It's my intention that this be a place that event planners come to connect, to get support from peers. It's different from perhaps other Facebook groups where we're really having conversations around leadership, work-life balance, purpose, creativity, getting into some of the things that we like to do, even in our personal lives, in order to push the world forward. I want to know all about that. And that's going to be a place for us to be able to do that. So if that's something that you would like to do, I would love it if you would go ahead and join. We've had a couple members already. I definitely would love to have more. So definitely we want to be able to build a community of purpose. It's an easier way for you to stay in the know of things, because with the Facebook algorithms, it's just easier to communicate things in groups versus the pages. And we can just have fun and build it up as we go. Being a new group, it's a wonderful opportunity to be able to grow this and have your input on how it looks. And then I will definitely put the link in the chat so that you all are able to see that and join if you would like to join. Now, it's only me here. It's not, I don't have a team or anything, so you guys are going to have to just wait for me to post that. So I went ahead and posted. If you want to be a part of that community, definitely go ahead and do so. So want to know, I know a few of you did read the book. I want to tell you how to participate in this book club. If you could just be present. I know we're on Facebook. I know there's tons of different distractions, but I would just appreciate it if you just be present, turn off your phone, close your door, tell your spouse or your partner or anybody that's in your house that you're going to be participating in a book club and you want to be engaged and in the chat. Would love for you to be engaging in the chat, and not only that, show up live if you can and share your top takeaway. I would love to hear what your top takeaway is, and for those that are here and are present in this moment, I would love to just have a live dialogue with you. So if you are willing, I would be so happy if you could join me in the chat. If not, no pressure. If you go live, I will buy you a cup of coffee. So that is a little teaser there to help you to be able to participate and go live for me. So also continue the conversation. Like I mentioned, there's a Facebook group. If you join, we would love to just continue the conversation. You can post there. Let us know how things went for you. If you haven't finished the book and perhaps you get some more insights and takeaways as you're finishing the book, let that be a place that you go and have those conversations and post your different insights and takeaways. That's exactly what my vision is for that group, for us to have more of those one-on-one conversations. Deal? Okay. All right. So wanted to talk a little bit about the book. So how did you like the book? We were reading Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert. This book was published in 2015. It's by New York bestselling author Elizabeth Gilbert. As I think everybody has probably known about her. I've only read Eat, Pray, Love, and I enjoyed Eat, Pray, Love. And I did not get a chance to read Committed. So interested to hear your insights on if you felt like Committed it was a different type of book, or if she kept the same type of writing in this book versus that one. Would love to hear what you have to say about that. She was a finalist for the National Book Award, and the National Book Critics Circle Award. So Elizabeth is just very world renowned, and I'm pretty sure if you read the book, you heard about some of the the things that she did in the book and the people that she was able to meet throughout her journey. So she definitely is a big time author. So would love to hear what you thought about the book itself. So we have a couple folks giving us some comments. Sorry, all right. So we have, Katie, she says she oversees meetings and events for the Student Union University of Tennessee, Knoxville. So welcome, Katie. Looking to expand her career, especially increasing sustainability in terms of the event industry. Awesome. Thank you. Yes, sustainability is huge. And I actually was talking on a panel today for the EIC, and we were just really talking about sustainability and the events industry and how we're going to need to show up in events differently after this pandemic. And a lot of that is pent up on sustainability and making sure we have like a circular economy with our meetings and events versus more linear. So instead of us just consuming and wasting and just kind of coming in, having our meeting and leaving, making sure that we're being sustainable for when we first plan a meeting to all the way through the process. So sustainability is huge. So thank you, Katie, for that piece of information. And it looks like she's read Committed too, and it's been a while. So she enjoyed reading this as well. So I think Committed was a different type of book. It had to do with relationships. So it was interesting for her to hear a different take on relationships. So thank you so much for putting that in there. Awesome. All right. So we'll move forward a little bit. You did tell me your overall thoughts on the book, so we did have this, so thank you. And the first thing I have for you is a question on what is creativity to you. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, what creativity for you is. In the book, Elizabeth Gilbert says that creativity is the relationship between a human being and mysterious of inspiration. So a relationship between a human being and the mysterious of inspiration. So that is what Liz says. I'm going to call her Liz. I wonder if she likes to be called Liz, but I will call her Liz for short for today. So what do you feel about creativity? What do you think about creativity, and what is creativity to you? I like in the book how they were talking about having ideas come to you and inspiration come to you, and how you can take that and make that your own and make it uniquely yours. So I feel like that's what creativity is you're really painting a picture with the ideas that come to you. Great. Thank you. So again, I wanted to show up and tell you what my takeaways were, and I'll stop sharing my screen for a little while just to kind of switch it up a little bit. But I wanted to tell you what my takeaways were on this book. I had a lot of them, but I'm going to just share a few, and then I'll invite you on for if you really want to come on live and share your thoughts for that. So what I really enjoyed about the book was how she talks about inspiration as being a partner and not a slave, and looking at inspiration in a different way. She talks about how you should approach creativity. And I guess I never really thought of it as an idea came to me. Elizabeth Gilbert talks about the concept of ideas always being out there, and you catch it. An idea comes to you, and because it comes to you, you have an opportunity to acknowledge that idea and to say, sure, I want to dance with you, or sure, I want to go ahead and move forward with this idea, right? And then through that, you're fostering creativity, because you're basically partnering with that idea and saying, I'm going to help bring you into this world in my own unique way. So I really enjoyed that. And it's happened to me so many times where I've had an idea and I would say, ooh, somebody should make that. Like right now in the middle of this quarantine, me and my family, we were having game night, And my daughter, Samara, she's 12. She said somebody should do a game called Quarantine. Now, maybe the game is out there, but I thought that was a pretty beautiful idea. So anybody out there that needs to create this game, we want to see it. It's a game called Quarantine, she said. But we were talking about ideas and talking about inspiration and how perhaps that idea will be out there, and it was something that she caught, and perhaps it would be somebody else would pick that up, because obviously we don't want to pick that up. We actually said no to that idea. So what about you all? Have you had an idea come to you and you've had to kind of say, I see that idea for what it is, and no, I'm not going to move forward with it, or yes, you are, and you brought it into fruition? Another takeaway I had was the fact that Liz Gilbert was talking about how another person could have your idea. And has that happened to you? You feel like someone had your idea, but she's talking about the fact that it's not really, you should think of it as somebody has your idea. It's just that someone else, chose to acknowledge the idea and bring it forth into the world in the way that they want to do it. So we've done that a lot, and it is a new thinking. I know Marie, she says it's a new thinking for her. Yeah, it definitely is. So some people may look at a person and say, "Oh my gosh, I had that idea," and really, they probably acknowledged that idea and now is acting on that idea and bringing it to fruition. So definitely a good thing. So Katie says there is a game called Pandemic. So I knew somebody had something. So I'm glad. I'm glad that that there's a game out there. So that's good. I'm glad somebody took that idea and ran with it. And when you think about that, someone took the idea and ran with it, it really just confirms what Liz Gilbert is saying. So it's awesome. Marie was talking about transference. So, and that was interesting too in Elizabeth Gilbert's book, because she talked about how she had this idea for a book. I think it was a book about a Brazil road project, if I recall correctly. And she was writing the book, super passionate about the book, was putting lots of time in the book, but then she got distracted and ended up having to, I think she got married or was in a relational challenge. So she took a couple of years off from the book in order to deal with that. Meanwhile, it seems as though someone else had that same idea. It was another author, actually. And so, yep, it was the Amazon. Thank you, Marie. So she was in the Amazon, or writing a book on the Amazon. So this other author, she met her, was a big time author. And over lunch, this author was saying how she was writing the exact same book that, Liz Gilbert was writing. She was explaining her book to Liz, and Liz realized, oh my gosh, this is the same book that I'm writing, or that I was going to write. So when Marie was talking about transference, it definitely speaks to the fact that ideas possibly could be transferred to another person, or multiple people can be working on the same idea. As mentioned in the book, there were several instances where multiple people are working towards a big theory or a big scientific discovery. So that can happen as well. So I thought that was definitely a new thinking also for me too. And now I'm starting to say that an idea came to me instead of I have an idea. So that's another one of my takeaways. So I wanted to give people an opportunity before I go into some other takeaways, but I wanted to give an opportunity for you all to be able to join me if you would like to. So just a second, I will get that for you. So let me know if you're willing to come on live, and I will definitely get you a link to come on live and tell me what you are thinking about this book. So I should be able to figure that out. All right. Okay, Marie says, can she be unmuted? Marie, I can invite you on, but you won't be able to be, and then you'll be able to be unmuted when I invite you on. So just a second. So if you're able to come on, I put the link in the chat, and then you're able to join me. And then you'll be in the waiting room for a little bit, and I will see you. And then you can come online and tell me a little bit about the book, and we can have a dialogue. Oof, I could see how you need a team. So if any of you are doing virtual events out there and you're doing them alone, I know this is an event we just have a few people on, but you definitely need a team to do that. So awesome. I see Katie, she's here. Lovely. So I will just add you in, Katie, and I would love to hear a little bit about you. How you doing?
Hi.
So if any of you are doing Hi. You might want to mute your other line, your other Facebook page there. There you go.
There we go. I was like,
so tell me, just give us a little bit about you first before you head into your takeaways.
okay. I've never been on Facebook Live. This is quite cool.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I work, like I said, for the student union, overseeing meeting and event requests, which needless to say right now is kind of slow because COVID.
I know.
But, kind of using this time to learn all I can about events and just different things. And for me, like looking at sustainability, it's not just like the environmental component, but there's 17 goals that the United Nations has created. And eventually it'd be nice to tackle all 17. I mean, obviously that's a big undertaking. But yeah, I think a lot of it's going to be how do we, when we look at food waste with events and even like the supply chain of where things are coming from, that's obviously a huge thing as well. So
yeah, it is. There are so many facets of sustainability that you can go into, and it's hard to tackle all of them at once. But it's hard because there's so much that's of importance right now, right? That we should be paying attention to. So that's wonderful, though, that your company does that, your organization does that.
So, it's not so much my company as just me as an individual.
You? Well, good for you.
Yeah, it's looking into it. So, because I guess my concern is of what I'm seeing both locally and is that so many people are trying to go back to the way things were beforehand.
Yeah.
And I mean, eventually we will be able to meet in person again, but we recognize like the way things were done before and was not necessarily great for everybody.
I totally agree. I think that in 2021 or when events come back, we definitely need to be coming back in a different way and showing up in a different way. And I think sustainability for sure is a part of that. So what were your takeaways from the book?
I liked it. I think there were some parts that felt kind of like hippie-ish in a way.
I know.
If that makes sense. But then, funny enough, I was participating in a virtual book retreat this weekend, and this other author talked about how she had sometimes had ideas for books that, for whatever reason, she just didn't do because she got distracted by something else. And then some other author took it on, and she's like, probably wrote a lot better book than she ever would on stuff. So it is an interesting idea that, ideas can be out there and you can either choose to listen to them or you can choose to ignore them, or life happens. And so they're just going to find this idea somewhere else. And I think she even talks about, that's why sometimes you'll see, whether it be books or movies that come out at like the same time on same subjects, but it's like two different it's different points of view sort of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny because it sounds as if sometimes an idea is so big that it needs multiple people to come through, and it has to get out, which she really talked about with certain phases of time, right, that occurred, industrial revolution or whatever, all these big, huge ideas that came through. And I thought that was really, really interesting. And sometimes there's just like one person who's in the right place at the right time, because I know if you're a fan of, was it Malcolm Gladwell? He has a book called Outlier. He talks a little bit about that too, where you could be an outlier and you're in just the perfect place at the perfect time with the right experience and you're able to take off, or you're able to take this idea and make it happen. So I thought that was definitely interesting. Any other? Oh, go ahead.
Oh, and I was gonna say, I also thought what was interesting when she was talking about people who are like, well, I just want to write just to be able to have a career. And she was like, wait a second. She said, she didn't just quit her job as soon as like she started writing or getting any sense of stability or fame or whatever, because it could just
Mhm.
go away like that. And the thing is, if you really think about her, I think most people know
Mhm.
her book Eat, Pray, Love, but I
Yep.
don't know how many people, like, if you just say Elizabeth Gilbert without saying the book, I don't know how many people go. I think most
Oh,
people are
yeah.
like, oh, but when you say Eat, Pray, Love, people are like, oh, okay. As
Yep.
opposed to some books, people know some books I think people know the book, but
Know the
not the author.
author.
Some
Mhm.
people know the authors, but not the book
That's true.
title. And I think even though I've read Committed, this one, I read The Signature of All Things,
Hmm.
and she's got, I think, one more. And I think they've all been successful. I think, but they just haven't been as successful as Eat, Pray, Love. And
Hmm.
it's almost like once you hit that type of success,
Yep.
it's really hard to go beyond that. So it's like anything she writes after, for the rest of her life, she's probably going to be known as best-selling
Yeah,
author
you
of Eat,
play
Pray, Love, sort of.
exactly.
And I
Exactly.
mean, I think any book after would have to just completely tank to ruin
Mhm.
her career. But at the same time, I think it's smart for her to say you have to do whatever creative thing because you
Mhm.
enjoy it. And hey, if you happen to make a living of it, that's great.
Right.
There's tons of authors out there that I've heard from some that are professors and they write like on the
Exactly.
bus ride home or during breaks or whatever because they may not be the authors of that level of success
Mhm.
that they could sustain for that long, and you never know when something's gonna fail.
Yeah, and I think that she wouldn't even care because towards the end of her book, I forgot the author already, but she did talk about an author who wrote a really big, life changing book. And, she didn't write anything after that because she probably was so overwhelmed with like either the ego or just either the
Oh,
bigness. Do you
To Kill
remember?
a Mockingbird,
Yeah. Was that
Harper
who it
Lee.
was? Yeah.
Harper Lee.
Right, right, Harper Lee. And then so nothing came after that. And so it's like, okay, well, she wished that she would have showed up and continued to write those books, to continue to just put her creativity out into the world. And I feel like if Liz Gilbert did write a book that tanks, she wouldn't care.
Yeah. Well, and actually, Harper Lee ended up releasing like a sequel, I think, to Kill a
Mhm.
Mockingbird, but it was like 35, 40. I mean, it was in the past couple years, but it was like 35,
Mhm.
40 plus years after the original
Right.
sort of thing. And I think also sometimes with authors, when they have success, like
Hmm.
that, sometimes it's so focused on the fame aspect and what it
Hmm.
says that sometimes it gets lost of like the creative part of it, and so
Exactly.
they probably don't, they're like, I just want to write my books. I don't want to have to worry about. And Harper Lee lived in a time before social media and before all the craziness of what we have now that
Right.
I can only imagine how much pressure that was back then. But then if she was trying to write like To Kill a Mocking, now, like how much
Hmm.
that would have been hard to like deal with the fame of it all.
Exactly. Exactly. So we have Marie decided to come on. I see you, Marie. So I'm going to add her in. Katie, thank you so much for your comments. You can stay on if you like. I'll keep you on
Okay.
here. If you want to sign off, just let me know. I'll just keep you on the stream. And then I'll bring in Miss Marie. How you doing, Miss Marie?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you just fine.
Okay. Alrighty. I had a little crackle when Katie was talking, so I don't know if it's on my side or if it was hers. So,
I don't
um,
hear crackle
You're
now.
good.
yeah. And they doing so fantastic. It's just like you're kind of talking and riffing, kind of by yourself and doing it. And I'm like, you're so brave. True to the book, Big Magic. You're just kind of like, oh man, she's just out there. She's brave. She's just doing it. And I couldn't get into the StreamYard. And I'm like, it won't let me in. Yeah.
Oh, I'm glad you made it though. So tell
Um,
everybody who you are. I know you're just a good friend of mine, but definitely would love for you to tell everybody who you are and
yeah,
your role in the
Katie
industry.
and whoever else listening, and Naomi and I, our paths go back many years. Naomi was talking about MPI, and we were both on the board together and kind of shared the common bond of having the presidency and all of that that comes with it. And then we are blessed and fortunate that we work together for the same company, not very closely, but every now and again our paths collide.
Yeah.
And so I'm just so amazed and proud kind of watching what you're doing with Planners on Purpose and kind of the book club. And so this popped up, and same thing like Katie said with Elizabeth Gilbert. I didn't really recognize the name right away, and then it's the book, and you're like, oh, that's right. And I heard her on a Tim Ferriss podcast, and I thought she was fantastic. And then when it was like she narrated the book herself, I thought, oh, I got to get it on Audible so I could kind of just hear her do the narration. In terms of the book, I'm just so with it. I tend to read more prescriptive books. I'm kind of a business. It's kind of like I want like the 10-step program to do something or learn something. So I enjoyed it. I listened to it over the last 3 days on the weekend as I was doing different stuff, and I was kind of going around the house. A couple things that jumped out at me that, like you said, the idea, and I love that you said an idea came to me instead of like, I have an idea, right? I really like that phraseology. But when she talked about tricksters and Bugs Bunny, right? And you would kind of think like, normally you kind of think, well, that's a bad thing. I'm a con man. Right. But it's like they enjoy the game, and so just framing something different to kind of say, I don't think like that, but maybe I should in some ways, in some areas of my life. Also, I really liked when she talked about curiosity versus fear. And I actually even put that in our industry insights. Like when you have uncertainty like we do now, like, do you look upon it like, and you're looking at the world with curious eyes, or are you looking afraid of unknown? And we could either say, if there's something that we don't know, like, oh, that's interesting, or that's awful. And she's like, those are the same thing, depending upon what you put into your head, kind of say, if it's interesting, do I shake it up and look at it a little bit different? And I still may surmise that, oh, it's awful. Or I might get something out of it and say, oh, it's not as bad as I thought. So those were a few of the things that came away from the book. Oh, one of the things, she quoted an author, Rob Bell. Don't rush through the experiences that could transform you. And I thought that was really cool, because sometimes we talk about like living in the moment, being present, sometimes we want time to stop. With the pandemic, we've had a little bit of that, yet it's kind of like, we're in a snow globe and everything is kind of moving crazy around us, but we kind of feel like we're landlocked. And we really don't appreciate it until it's behind us, instead of kind of saying, why am I rushing to get through it instead of just enjoying the journey, the process?
Yeah, I agree. And then I feel like there's a unique process that's happening too. I feel like we are being pushed in a way to forge our own path, to be creative and really figure out how our meetings going to happen in the future. How do they look, and how can they be sustainable in a way that if something like this should happen again, we wouldn't have it take down our whole industry, that we have, processes and things in place to make sure that it doesn't happen again. So I feel like, and that means that people have to show up now. It's hard because I know that people are losing money, businesses are closing, but the ones that can show up, I guess they have that responsibility to try to figure out how is this going to work, and really going beyond that fear of figuring out, oh, who's going to be first. And I love the companies that have done it, right? They said, oh, we're going to go with our conference. I think MPI, they went on with WEC, and it was a good conference. And I'm glad that they did it. I know they took a little bit of slack for not canceling, but they did it, and they showed everyone that, hey, it can be done and we can be safe. So what do you guys think about that? Just taking risk in the middle of what's going on right now?
Well, I don't know if it was her, or because I've got this note here that, comfort isn't a place to change. And we're always talking about, especially with our company, innovating and early adopters and change. And we do that incrementally. Sometimes we take more risks than others. But But now we don't have a choice, right? That the hand has really been forced, and we have no other alternative than to kind of reshape what the future is going to look like for our industry, for live events, for human connections, and how do we kind of take some of that, the virtual and the things that we've learned and make it even better, stronger, and like you said, at least be more prepared if there's another outbreak of some sort, whether it's pandemic or smaller, that it wouldn't cripple us. It would kind of be like, oh, it's a bump, but right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think if you're gonna take risks, do it in a pandemic type situation, because when else are you gonna do it?
Yeah.
And I know at the beginning of all this, I started listening to some podcasts that Event Icons puts out. It's Event Icons, Event Brew, and Event Coffee. And I started from the beginning. I haven't made my way through all of them, but their company has been working remotely for like 7 or 8 years. And I'm listening and hearing about this technology, and I'm like, why were we not just as our industry, but industries across the board, why were we not prepared? Like 7 years this has been around, or longer in some cases for some stuff. Like, think about how much better, I mean, obviously some companies would still have suffered, but how much smoother things would have been, how much better some things would have been if we had all been using at least some form of this technology for years.
I agree, because I remember just being a part of different industry events, and the whole idea of either live streaming or doing some technology came up, and people are just like, oh my gosh, I can't do that. I don't want to do that. If it's not popular, if our clients aren't asking for it, then we're not going to go ahead and do it. So I feel like we got into that. And instead of pushing it forward and saying, hey, we need to really figure out a way how to make this work and make it work smoothly, let's say some stayed stagnant in that area. And I feel like we've seen that, where some companies that were that had a plan, right, that had those tools available, they're thriving during this time, and others really have to start from scratch and get up their game. So
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I agree with you. Some really struggled, and we could have been a little bit more prepared on the tech side.
Yeah.
Well, and I think, Naomi, it was one of the MPI meetings. I don't know if I was president, but it was in Madison. We used a production company, and we did our first hybrid streaming event. And it just kind of, I kind of lost track of it. And that would have been, I don't know, not quite a decade, but a while ago. And I think sometimes that those decisions are made for the wrong reasons, right? Either because we're comfortable in our live events, we've got our budget, there's a money equation to it, right? That once again, it's kind of like maybe we do a little baby step, but we just don't go the distance, right? That different stakeholders were just kind of holding on to, well, we've always done it this way, right? I mean, and if we let virtual people come, what would that do to our live audience? Would they pay? Would they even come, right? I mean, we talk ourselves out of it before we give it a shot.
Yeah. And she said something else, Liz Gilbert, I had it here. She said there's no job security in creativity when she said that. And it made me think of what Katie was saying, because there really isn't. And so even right now, where we're all forced to be a little bit more creative, we're taking big risks. And sometimes we're taking risks that we fail, right? But we do need to show up in a time where other people aren't. And like you said, Marie, we have to continue pushing it, because we don't want to go back normal if normal is what it's just us doing what always has been, right? Not being open to the opportunities. We want to be open to the opportunities and leap into them, take risks, be creative, live openly. So that was the takeaway for me too.
Well, yeah. And at least we're in a position where obviously lots of people in events and hospitality have lost their jobs, which is a terrible thing too. But we're also like, for most of us, even those people who've lost their job, like, we can do stuff remotely, but there's tons of like essential workers and stuff that they can't do their stuff remotely. So it's also just being aware of like where our privilege within our industry also is, of like, hey, by the way, as bad as it is, it could be
worse.
Yeah. And also looking ahead to like, okay, virtual obviously is not going anywhere. The next thing's going to be hybrid. but then also looking ahead even further in the future to what does the next technology look like, so that whenever the next whatever happens, we're not behind again. And I know I'm in several book clubs, but early on in this, we had a speaker who's a doctor in Canada, who's also a writer, and he wrote a book called Pandemic. But he said, you know, history in pandemics have always brought out the best and the worst in people, but through that, you do see spouts of creativity. And he also talked about history showed us there was going to be another pandemic. Now, history could not have said when it was going to be or what it was going to be, but it was like, we obviously are not paying enough attention to history or science. So it's like, hopefully this can be a reminder to those of us of like, hey, this happened. So let's keep an eye on the signs.
Yeah, I know. Whatever. For sure. I know. And Marie, I'll let you speak. Joan Eisenstadt, I know, talked a lot about things like this and kept kind of setting those warning bells to the industry. Like, we need to be more prepared for these type of things. And here it happened. But Marie, go ahead. I know you had a thought.
There was a part of the book that didn't really speak to me as I read it, although at some point in my life it may resonate, and I get it, and it probably spoke loudly to a lot of creatives, was the tormentor. Right? That, you know, when you refer to, and we may in like events that take, you know, years to plan from when we source them to when we finally execute them, but like that we refer to them as our babies, right? And that your creative project isn't your baby. And like, why do you believe that you need to be, have to be in pain or, you know, kind of find your pain to be creative? And my creative in marketing doesn't rise to that level. It's not a Picasso. It's not, right. And so I get it. And for the creatives that do that, that probably really was a significant part of what she was trying to message to people, that you don't need to live in misery to be able to produce great things. But I don't maybe don't think my work rises to that level, and I don't feel that level. But when she was talking about her story, Pilgrims, right? And that she had to cut it down, and she referred to it as being amputated, right? So it's like, I've got this project, and it's almost like I feel like I'm losing limbs because you're making me cut my masterpiece. But then she said, when I did it and I figured it out, and it wasn't that it was like better or worse, it was just different.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I feel there's like a difference with like working in your passion, right? And then just working. Because I know I struggle with that. For people that don't know, I have a history of just being a musician. So that's what I went to school for. I'm a musician. And I always had this dream of like really wanting to be in somebody's orchestra pit and really working and doing that. But at the end of the day, it ends up being, sure, it's my passion, but do I want it to be a painful struggle? Probably not. And I'm pretty sure some of those people that are in that orchestra pit, it's probably, you know, kind of a drag for them at times. So I'm glad that I'm in a space where I can enjoy it and enjoy it openly and freely, and have it be more of a passion than a pain. So yeah, good point.
Well, and I'm actually reading this book called Time Off, and it kind of goes into this thing about how as a society, we, not just with the pain, but also we celebrate the fact of how busy we are. And if you look back, and they kind of study throughout the decades and stuff and centuries and everything, and they look at like Beethoven and all these famous people in different industries and where their creativity and stuff came from. And they were not working like 40 hours or plus that we all like to boast about now, sort of thing. Like, they might work like 2 hours and then take a break, and then another 2 hours in the evening or whatever and take a break. But somehow as a society, it's like you're expected to work that many hours, even if you're not really doing anything, sort of thing. And how do we, but that's not good for you physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, like all these things.
Right.
But you know, there are companies, especially like tech companies, like I think Facebook, Microsoft, Twitter, have said that, you know, they're letting their employees work remote for at least the end of this year. I think some at some point might even said into next year. But I mean, and I get with tech companies that depending on what the nature of your job is with tech, work from home, or whether it be full time or at least part of the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I definitely want to thank you both for coming on. And before you leave, I just want you to answer just one question. So, after reading the book, if you can give me like one idea that perhaps has passed through you that you would like to take hold of and actually, do something with it. Do a little dance with your idea.
Do
What
the
is an idea
dance,
that you've
make
gotten
a little
that
love.
I'm
yeah.
actually working on mine right now.
Okay.
So, in the sustainability part of it, I was thinking about how so often with event planners, when I hear about sustainability, people are like, well, event planners need to be asking fill in the blank. And it's like,
Yep.
that's great. But if they're not asking the questions, so my thought is trying to create some sort of virtual, whether it be an event or platform where you can gather event planners, but also suppliers that are actually working in sustainability and network and figure out this stuff. And so that way event planners actually have the resources to go to those people and they're not having to do the extra, work themselves.
Yeah.
And I'm actually had an email I sent to based off a contact somebody else gave me of a sustainable brands company that I sent an email to this morning. And I laid out my whole idea and the guy responded and he said, hey, sounds like a really good idea and really well thought out. And hey,
cool.
Let's talk either Friday or Monday. And maybe put me in contact with some other people that are doing similar stuff. So
great. So your idea is in action. So wonderful. Will be great to see how that turns out for you. So thank you, Katie, so much for being here. Marie, what about you? What is one idea that you want to do a little dance with? I saw you dancing over there.
I was dancing for Katie because her idea was so great. I actually have I maintain our website, but I haven't built a website from the ground up. And my neighbor, who's been a teacher, an educator for the Milwaukee Public School System for 30 years, retired, but now he's running for the school board and asked me if I could help him build website. So as I was listening to her book and kind of the creativity and just kind of get going and don't be afraid. And so wish me luck on that. So making some progress. I've got like kind of the WordPress local saved on my computer. And you've done a great job with your website and redesigning it and what you're doing in StreamYard. So yeah, those are definitely
it's a labor of love. It was probably more of the pain than the passion with that, but
yeah, I know exactly, right? And you figure something out and then something doesn't work. And so
exactly.
Yeah. So I don't know if that's a crazy idea, but it would be just kind of a personal thing that I've wanted to do. And the election is in April. If he gets elected, then I can say I've run a successful campaign.
That's pretty cool.
I'm 100%, one for one.
Hey, if it's an idea that scares you, then there you go, no matter how big or small.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Oh, well, Naomi, thank you, ladies. No, thank you for showing up. I'll let you guys go, and I will have a gift card for you for some Starbucks. So send me a DM so that I can get you that over to you. But I appreciate you all being here today. So thank you so much for sharing your insights.
All righty, we'll see you later. Right. Nice meeting you, Katie.
Nice to meet you as well. But nice to meet both of you, actually.
Nice meeting you too. Bye. Bye. All right. So wonderful. So that's it. If we have anybody still listening, definitely go ahead and let us know what you felt about Big Magic in the chat. Thank you so much again to Marie and Katie for coming on and being my guest. I wanted to let you all know of the next book club and what's happening next. It is Presence by Amy Cuddy. So that's our next book. So mark it on your calendars. We're looking at doing this on December 30th. It is a Wednesday. It is at 7 p.m. And we're going to be really talking about showing up differently in 2021. So this book is all about bringing yourself to your biggest challenges, how to flourish in your stressful moments that terrify you, and stop executing with anxiety. And I'm using this book as saying that it's like a new year. Hopefully it's a new us with a different perspective, going through some of these perilous times, showing up differently in 2021. So I love the fact that it's December 30th. It's right before January, so we can reset our minds and refresh and definitely dig into this book and set our plans for what our new year is going to be about. So I would love it if you would join me with that, with being available for that book. You can, I will go ahead and put in the chat. I'm going to have to, I will put in the chat a link, and this link is going to be able to have you sign up just to get notifications, because sometimes people aren't on Facebook all the time, and I totally understand that. And perhaps you want to sign up and just be a part of the emails that I send out specifically for those that want to be a part of book club. So go ahead and sign up, and then that will also remind you and give you some talking points along the way of what we'll be talking about in the next book club. So that is it. I really enjoyed that book. I want to again let you know that there is a new Facebook group that's out there. It's the Planners on Purpose Facebook group. If you go ahead and navigate on the main page to, I think there's a drop down arrow and it says groups at the top of the page, you'll be able to join that. Go ahead and click join, answer a few questions, and then we will get you in. I'm really excited about this group and excited about the possibilities here. So again, I just thank you for being here. This was a wonderful time. I just appreciate our guests being here on the podcast. Not podcast, oh my gosh, on the book club. And I am going to be looking forward to seeing you on December 30th for the next book club, which will be talking about Presence by Amy Cuddy. So thank you all so much. And I hope you really enjoy the rest of your day and the rest of your week, and be more creative. Try to really listen to those ideas that you have coming to you and try to take them and do what you can with them. And yeah, let's see how we can inspire our own creativity and step out of our fear and move our industry forward. So thank you so much. Enjoyed each and every one of you. We will talk to you soon. Bye now.